All right, good evening, everyone. We are going to get started. We are waiting for the PowerPoint to come up. But in the meantime, if you could go ahead and drop something in the chat that you enjoy doing during the springtime. Just drop it in the chat for us. And we're going to give everyone maybe 2 more minutes to get logged on, and then we are going to get started. Thank you guys for joining us. I am Larisha Martin, Chief Academic Officer, Associate Soup for West Contra Costa. Excited to have you all here with us this evening. Drop something in the chat that you enjoy doing during this wonderful spring time. Weather is so beautiful outside. About 1 more minute in the chat. I'll drop the question in the chat for you. All right, and as soon as our PowerPoint is up, we will start our presentation, our Community Safety Forum. All right. A lot of things in the chat: sleeping, being outside, gardening, spring flowers, listening in the car, walking, vacationing. Ms. Smith, you might need to present. Eating, outdoor sports with my children, traveling, playing with the dogs in the sunshine, fireside, barbecuing, reading, hiking, walks, tennis. These are some fun things. For me, I enjoy walking my dog and just taking some hikes. I love hikes in the springtime. All right, so this gave us an opportunity to get everyone in the chat and to start our icebreaker. Again, I'm Larisha Martin, Associate Superintendent, Chief Academic Officer. This is our Community Safety Forum, and I am going to go to the next slide. I just want to let you know that there is an FAQ that will be dropped in the chat. You can also use the QR code here. You can use that with your phone. You can just take a screenshot of the QR code or put your camera to the QR code, and that will take you to an FAQ document in which you can write any questions that may be coming up for you during our presentation today from the panel. And at this time, our next slide, I will be turning it over to our superintendent, Dr. Hurst.
Ms. Martin, before we turn it over to Superintendent Hurst, can we pause for a moment for translation?
Yes, I'm sorry.
No worries.
And if we can just make sure our translator is promoted as a panelist, please.
Miss Molina, can you please raise your hand for me?
All right. Ms. Blake, can we continue?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to turn it over to our superintendent, Dr. Hurst.
Great. Thank you so much. And I'd like to say good evening to everyone and welcome to our safety forum. I wanted to start off by just acknowledging board members that we may have that's listening in. I believe they all received an invitation and they are probably all listening in as well. So thank you for joining us, all of our Board of Trustees. Certainly want to thank all of the community members that are here, that are present, but I especially wanted to thank my staff who has been working around the clock. And you see the names here. That's part of the executive team. That's also part of the safety committee. But also, it's not just these individuals, it's all of our employees that's been playing a role in making sure that we keep our campuses safe. We always are looking at how we can make it safer. So thank you to all of our principals, assistant principals, our campus security, and all of our employees for your role in making sure that our district is safe. And again, I just wanted to take the opportunity to welcome you. I had the opportunity this weekend to be part of a community forum myself. And one of the big questions that was asked of me is, Dr. Hurst, what is the district doing to ensure that our campuses are safe for our students and for our adults? And that's what you're going to hear this evening. So with that, we're going to turn it back over to our Chief Academic Officer, Ms. Martin. Thank you.
Next slide. West Contra Costa really has always focused on and will continue to focus on safety in the school climate, and really wanted to just outline our positive school climate resolution. West Contra Costa Unified School District believes strongly in creating a district-wide positive relationship-based culture that is supportive of all members of West Contra Costa Unified, that is grounded in restorative practices, positive behavior interventions and supports, and trauma-informed practices. So this meeting today will continue to happen, these types of meetings with our community. And we really want to ensure that we are following the resolution and ensuring that our schools are safe and have a strong environment of a positive culture. Next slide. Ms. Smith.
Yes, good evening, everyone. My name is LaShante Smith, and I am the Director of School Climate in our district. And so thank you all for being here again, and thank you for taking the time to be a part of this important conversation. And I really wanted to start us with what brings us here. And so I want to preface with a couple of things. One is that today we're going to talk about some immediate strategies that we have based on some of the incidents that we have been seeing on our campuses. But we know that there is more to school climate than just kind of the physical measures that we're taking or the immediate strategies that we may be taking. We know that so much goes into creating a positive school climate for all of our stakeholders. So really today, we're going to inform you all about, one, what we're doing and what we continue to do around our commitment to safe schools and a positive climate. We want this to be a conversation with our community so that you know directly from us what our response plan is based on some of the recent events around our campuses is and what our longer term strategies are. We're going to share some data relevant to some current events or some recent events that we've had on our campuses. And again, we want to start and most importantly, continue the conversation around school climate and safety. So some things to consider. Today, again, you're going to hear our district, like more global, broad safety plan that will include some immediate actions that we're taking and implementing across all of our sites. But we really want to emphasize that safety includes both physical measures, but it also addresses the psychological and emotional safety of all of our stakeholders. Again, when we think about safety, we know that there is going to need to be an emphasis on long-term planning and training to fully implement what we said we would implement as far as our school climate resolution. And that's really grounded in positive behavior interventions and supports and the full implementation of healing center practices, restorative practices, and a focus on social emotional health. We know that today you're going to hear short-term strategies, but again, want to emphasize that long-term strategies related to our social, emotional, and behavioral health of our students is key in creating safe schools. Youth voice and community engagement is needed to fully implement any plan that we come up with. And then based on our data, both qualitative and quantitative, the plans can change at any moment. And then what I really want to continue to emphasize is that a focus on social and emotional health continues to be the leading strategy in preventing violence on campus. So this trend data is basically to share with the community and to be transparent around weapons on our campus. During the past couple of weeks and months, we have had some weapons come onto our campuses. And so I wanted to share with you both qualitative data and some quantitative data around what we're seeing. And so qualitatively, we know that across all of the incidents, that weapons that were found on our campus were related to outside school events. We know that the students who brought weapons did not feel safe when coming to and from school. So we know that there has been an increase in community violence and an increase of things happening outside of our schools that have contributed to students not feeling safe. And we also know that across the incidents, that social media seem to be a big influence in students' decision-making around weapons on campus. Again, weapons on campus is only one part of an incident that can occur. We know that there's so much that goes into creating positive school climate. And again, this is just showing you one data point around weapons, just to kind of be transparent with the community across what's happening. So quantitatively, if you look at our data around weapons on campus, what you see is that in I'm sharing data from 2016, 2017, up until now. And again, this is just with firearms on campus. And so where we are is about 12 incidents of weapons being brought onto our campus. We know that one weapon found on a campus is one too many, but I wanted to kind of highlight what we've been seeing across the year. The most weapons that we have found on the campus was around 2017, 2018, and then we started to have a decline. We are currently continuing to decline from the levels that we've seen in 2017 to 2018. And then I want to highlight that this 2019-2020 year was the year that our school shut down in March due to COVID-19. So this was not a full school year. So if you look at our trend data, we are trending downwards. But again, we know that one weapon found on our campus is one too many. And so today, again, we're going to talk about our response strategies, which include those immediate strategies that we are implementing regarding what we are seeing.
LaShante, real quick, can we pause for translation?
Yes.
Ms. Molina, if you can unmute yourself and give instructions for how to access translation in Spanish, that would be wonderful. There should be a globe at the bottom of everyone's screen that says interpretation. And if you click on the globe, you can choose the language of your preference.
Si necesita interpretación, hay un icono de globo abajo de la pantalla. Escoja el español si quiere escuchar todo traducido. Gracias. Ms. Blake, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the instructions. Do you have folks set up in your channel? I believe so, and that's why I can't hear her. We can proceed.
Thank you. And thank you for stopping me, because we want to make sure that everyone has access to our presentation tonight and can listen in with us. So again, this was just trend data around the weapons on campus. We are trending downward, but we know that any weapon found on our campus is too many. And again, this data is just 1 point, and these are just highlighting specific incidents related to firearms, but we know that there is much more related to creating a positive school climate across our system. And then before I turn it over, I'm just going to share some student perception data. So we did do a survey with our students, and we have in the works plans to continue to do listening circles across our high schools to really understand what our students are saying and really hear what they're saying so that we can incorporate their voice into any plan that we create, and we can continue to revise our plans based on what we hear from our students. And so this slide just shows some quotes from a student survey that we gave out to all of our secondary sites. And again, a lot of students are saying or citing a need for more mental health professionals, a need for or an understanding of students bringing weapons on campuses for things that are happening outside. And then we also have students stating to us that we need to do more, and that simply checking bags aren't enough. So we have both kind of sides of the story and both feelings of what is happening on our campuses. And so just further engagement with our young people, really understanding their needs will continue to happen through the end of the school year so that we can, again, revise our plans based on what we are hearing and really take youth voice and do something with it. So I'm going to turn it over to Michael Booker, who is going to walk us through our comprehensive school site safety plan.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. And I'm going to take the opportunity to talk about our comprehensive. But before that, I am Michael Booker, and I'm the Chief Safety Officer for the school district. I want to talk about our comprehensive school site safety plans. These plans, the purpose for these plans is to provide a uniform template for school sites to respond and recover from emergency events resulting in the disruption of normal school operations. Each school site has a comprehensive site safety plan. The California Department of Education requires that each site complete their safety plans on an annual basis, and those are due by March 1st of every year. In those plans, there are 10 sections that they have to complete. And in those sections, it helps each site to not only recover from an emergency situation, but also prepare them for these situations if they should occur. As far as the sites go, or the information, I'm just going to quickly go through the information for sections 2 through 10. The comprehensive operations is basically the concepts of what we use for emergency preparedness. The preparedness of the efforts is how we do it, and each site is different, so it's how they prepare for an emergency for their site. And then the emergency roles are for the people that are going to respond to those emergencies on those sites. And then what actions they would take in any given situation, whether it be from an earthquake or even having a firearm on campus. And then the emergency evacuation procedures, each site has an evacuation procedure that they use in the event of any emergency. It also talks about the school climate index. And then it also has the policies for bullying, attendance, and then finally the school climate report. Each plan has to be reviewed by the SSC, and they need the approval, and then the safety department for the district also approves those plans, and then they're presented to the school board for adoption. Next slide, please. In this overview of our safety plan, although we use some strategies that are in the comprehensive site safety plan, Some of the things that I'm going to talk about were either temporary strategies or strategies that were enhanced during the events where we had seen weapons on campus. Next slide, please. So the immediate actions that we took, one of the main things that we looked at was the communication. Communication across the district, communication to our communities, communication to our staff. So we wanted to make sure that not only were we communicating accurate information, but it was timely in nature. The next thing that we did is we had a safety checklist for ongoing monitoring. And this just is an accountability tool that we use to make sure that our schools are not only getting support, but they are also complying with the directives that we presented. And then we looked at the CSS coverage and visibility, making sure that our campus safety specialists were in the proper areas, but they were visible on the campus. And then we also looked at the single point of entry, making sure that our single point of entry for each site was identified, as well as making sure that people checked in through these single points of entry. And what I mean by single points of entry is an area where the school staff can monitor people coming onto a site. And then the thing that we did at the secondary level is the wearing of lanyards for staff and students, making sure that we can identify anybody that is on the site at any given time. And then the next strategy that we used was identifying vulnerable youth to make sure that we could get them the supports that they needed, whether it be behavioral or mental health. And then finally, which is an intermittent strategy, but in the cases that we had weapons on campus, we had reasonable suspicion that to believe that if we did not do this strategy, that the actions could continue. Like I said, this is an intermittent strategy that we use, but we do check bags and lockers in the event that there may be an ongoing action. Next slide, please. And so when I talked about that monitoring tool, this is a tool that we use so we can make sure, for example, the one point of access or the lanyards. We do checks at these sites, and we check off what we see when we go to these sites. We fill out a document that is populated into a spreadsheet, and it goes to this dashboard. So the information is an internal dashboard that we can see when we go to a site that if they aren't in compliance with lanyards, we make sure that we put that on there. We contact the site leader, and then we make sure that if they need some supports or ways that they can better adhere to that, we make sure that we get that for them. So this is the tool that we use. Next slide. Ms. Smith, are you going to talk about the long-term strategies?
Yes. So again, Mr. Booker shared with you some of our short-term immediate strategies that we are implementing now and that we are consistently monitoring across our sites. But we know that, again, as I said it before, that long-term strategies are needed to fully implement any plan. So some long-term strategies include ensuring that we have fully functioning school climate and safety teams on our sites, that we continue to monitor school climate trends. So continue to look at what kind of incidents are taking place at our sites. Where are they happening? When are they happening? So that we can collectively as a team decide on how we are going to intervene. The focus has to be on social and emotional learning in our classroom. having that structured time and having that explicit time to teach social emotional skills, and also emphasizing that social and emotional skills can be taught throughout the school day and really embedding that throughout the day, all day for all students. We want to continue to build out behavioral and mental health supports at our schools. And we have done that through our full service community schools model. We've also done that through partnerships with different community-based organizations. And this is our first year where we're focused on building out a centralized support team to support students' social and emotional needs. So to date, we have added 3 social workers and 2 board certified behavior analysts who are working to support our students. And we are continuing to build that department out so that all of our school sites, and most importantly, all of our students, have access to interventions at their sites related to social and emotional needs. Some other initiatives that I will speak about, and I'll let Ms. Martine Blake also join in, but we are focused on building out full service community schools and really partnering with community-based organizations to ensure that our students, again, have access to services on sites. And then I'm going to talk about a little bit about a grant we applied for through Nancy Skinner's office. And really this grant, if funded, we would be able to provide restorative practitioners at school sites to support our students and our staffs in being restorative and creating those healing-centered environments to support all of our students' needs. This grant would also allow us to get more bodies on sites to assist with social, emotional, and mental health support, so direct service providers. And then it would also enable us to continue to invest in systems that support us in identifying students in need of support. So really building out a data system that would identify students in need of support earlier and have kind of those early warning indicators embedded in that system. And I'll let Martine talk to us about our community schools grant.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Martine Blake. I'm the Director of Family and Community Engagement for the district. Most of you may know that we passed a full service community school resolution back in 2012. And so given where we are coming out of a pandemic and given where we are 10 years after that resolution was implemented, we recently applied for a California full service community school grant. And we took that opportunity to really reimagine what the next generation of community schools would look like. So in preparation for this grant, we held several listening sessions with parents, with students across the districts. We launched surveys to just learn what you all know about community schools and really see how we could better partner with our parents, with our community, as well as with our students around really wrapping around and meeting all the needs of our students. Not just their academic needs, but their health and wellness needs as well. And so through those listening sessions, some of the priorities that emerged were a stronger emphasis on restorative practices and multi-tiered systems of support to ensure that we are doing the work to quickly identify students who are in need of additional support. Again, not just academic support, but also social emotional support. And that we have interventions and resources similar to what LaShante just spoke about to really wrap around students and meet their holistic needs. We also recognize that providing services and interventions as a community and as a district is not enough. We also really want to partner with our parents, recognizing that they are one of the most critical partners in doing this work to ensure academic success, as well as the wellness of students as they develop throughout our system. And so we also applied for funding for parent capacity building to support parents with transitions as their children grow older, and with partnering more intensely with the school, and also around making sure that we communicate the resources that are available at schools, and making sure that you all know how to access them as well.
Thank you, Martine. And I just wanted to point out that we are giving you a lot of information. And if you are just joining us or didn't hear, there is a Q&A button in the webinar. If you have any questions that come up, please type your question in the Q&A, and we will be compiling all of the questions and sharing them out with you after this webinar. And there is going to be an opportunity in a minute for feedback. So let me go to the next slide. But again, any question that comes up, please, please, please ask in the Q&A on the Q&A feature on the webinar. So now I'm going to turn it over to Summer.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Summer Sigler, and I am the Executive Director of the Secondary Schools. And as LaShante spoke to earlier, we've begun a process of getting student feedback with a survey, and there will be more follow-up to get student voice, but we do want to get community voice, particularly around the plan that you've heard tonight, both around what you think was good or you want emphasized in the plan, and anything you think we may have left out, so that we have your brilliance as we work together to improve safety. So this tool is called the Thought Exchange. You can log on with the QR code or with the link. And it's going to ask you to type your response. And so we're going to give just a moment for you all to get on. The question is, what ideas, actions, or suggestions do you believe can support the district to improve safety in schools? Go ahead and give us your ideas, and in a few moments, we'll go ahead and review.
So I see that 31 participants are part of the thought exchange so far, and only 8 thoughts have been shown. This is the fun part about thought exchange, is we get real-time data, and it's kind of like social media. You get the chance to kind of upvote what other people are saying and thinking. So I really encourage you, if you haven't yet joined the thought exchange, go ahead and please join really quickly, so that we can hear what everyone is thinking. I love it. I'm seeing more thoughts come in. And you guys can see the connections visibly on the screen. The little map on the left-hand side of our screen right now shows who is connecting with each other. The line shows that you upvoted and said, yeah, I agree with that thought. And that's really helping us to understand sort of the trends in our community. So some of the things that we're seeing come to the top of the list, and you'll see kind of the star rating system at the bottom of each post. We're seeing folks say that they're really appreciating the focus on MTSS and PBIS, along with school climate. We're seeing an idea that, more staff on campus, including counselors at every school. We're seeing specific schools be named, with making sure that we're securing the perimeter of the school, and a need for communication, continued communication when events do occur. Yep, more communication, and the fact that clear communication from us helps to ensure that factual communication is what's shared, rather than stories that might not contain all of the facts. Looking about, again, perimeter securing with maybe fences and cameras, and resources on how to deal with safety threats in general. I love it. You can see these thoughts and connections kind of exploding as we continue. We're also seeing here a need for site level training. And again, more staff, including our mental health practitioners. We heard counselors mentioned earlier, and more with the SEL and PBIS, which could go along with the training. And again, here's some more training needed around trauma-informed work for staff. I'm seeing that link for the thought exchange being posted in the chat if you haven't yet participated. We have 155 participants tonight, everyone, and we have 48 thoughts so far. I really need to see 155 thoughts. As a district parent myself, I know that I'm excited to get the opportunity to participate and have my views be shared tonight. So please take this opportunity and let us hear from you. Again, more counselors. So we're echoing the thoughts about staff. I think in terms of feedback here, just via the thought exchange, this might be one of the times when we've had so many participants and very not as much feedback as participants. So I'm pretty surprised tonight. I know everyone has something to say, so jump on that thought exchange. If you didn't get a chance to hit the QR code earlier, check out the chat box, and there is a link in the chat where you can join. Thank you. Here's our QR code. Mrs. Preston, I hear you about not figuring out the QR code. No worries, my friend. You may also click this link that LaShante Smith has posted in the chat, just 2 comments above yours. This is one of the brilliant parts about a town hall, is that it's your opportunity to be heard and participate. So here's a new one, at least in the thought exchange tonight, is direct support to students struggling with mental health. And a comment about counselors following that, which is staff oriented. However, the further comment is that it's about dealing with student mental health. So there may be another common thread. There's some commentary about checking our policies to set examples of unacceptable behavior. More commentary about dealing with the trauma that our students are dealing with post-COVID. I love it. I'm seeing the thought exchange blow up. So we went from 14 thoughts to 69 thoughts in a matter of moments. And I just want to thank all of you all for participating. The thing about thought exchange that's really lovely is that this link will stay open. So as things come to you, you may add your thoughts and you may upvote others' thoughts if it takes you a moment to read through and really consider. So we're going to leave this open, and allow us to go to our next slide. Thank you all.
Lashante, can you put the deck back? Ms. Smith, can you put the deck back up?
Yes.
Thank you all so much for that feedback. Again, just to reiterate what Dr. Huey said as we conclude and wrap up for this evening, the thought exchange will remain open for another week. This meeting is also being recorded, so please feel free to pass this information along to other parents, other CBOs that may not have been able to participate this evening, so that we can hear from as many folks as possible. Questions from today's forum that were collected from the chat, from the Q&A button, as well as from the link that we shared at the onset of the meeting. All of those questions will be compiled into a written FAQ, and we will send that back out to community within 2 weeks. So please stay tuned for that as well. And know that this is not the end of the conversation. As Ms. Smith shared earlier, we provided you all with a ton of information, and you did the same right back. So this is really an ongoing process for us to share with you where we are in this moment, to hear your thoughts, so that we can consider your thoughts, and continue to evolve our plan with this additional data. Please remember that if you see something, say something. So if you see something that appears to not be safe, or if you have a concern about student safety, please say something. You can talk to your site administrator. You could talk to another trusted adult on site. And we also have an anonymous reporting line, and you can see the number there for you to report any concerns that you may know about. Mr. Franco, you're muted.
So good evening, everyone. My name is Julio Franco, Director of Safety and Operations. This is our last slide. And so we reached the end of our presentation, and we want to thank every one of you for attending. We know that it takes a community to support our schools and our families. We could not do this work without all of you. So once again, thank you for attending and for your continued collaboration.